Hi. In this video, I'm going to be discussing all the movies I did not upload a review for since the last one that I uploaded a review for, which was Challengers. For these, I just really didn't have that much to say about them, or I didn't feel strongly enough about them when I watched them, so I never uploaded a review. So today's the day. There's a few, and at this point, it's been a while for some since I've seen, so I'm liable to miss some things, misremember some things, or fail to connect some dots. But overall, my lasting impression of the movie remains, what it is. And I do want to say that whatever my opinion ends up being, regardless of it, I never mean to disparage or devalue the immense amount of work that must go into making all of these movies. Every single department, every single person on that set has something to do, and they have a job to do well. And I'm merely commenting on the overall product, on the vibe, the vision, the art piece as a consumer, as a subjective person. So it's a subjective take. What I vibe with, you might not vibe with, vice versa. It's valid, right? So there's that. And I don't go into deep detail regarding plot and spoilers for most of these. For some of them, I do go into a little bit deeper, so just a heads up there. If you're wanting to watch them eventually and not know much or anything at all, I obviously don't watch this. But yeah, otherwise, I hope you enjoy. And also, I did want to mention the audio. I'm working on getting better audio going, so you may notice that, but I'm working on it. All right. Okay, Longlegs. I fell for the hype. I heard great things. I avoided the trailers as a result. I was like, I don't want anything spoiled for me. I want to go in blind. And, this movie is starting out and it's different. It's like vintage looking. It's giving me sinister vibes. It's giving me Zodiac vibes. It's grainy, it's dark, it's grimy, I like it. I'm like, where is this going? Okay. And then it does things that slowly but surely make everything less scary, everything less suspenseful, less ambiance, less it was just such a disappointment. I didn't like Nicolas Cage the way he was doing Longlegs like a drunk casino dad at a rock concert. Like, I just didn't enjoy it. He was cringe. I was cringing, and it seemed like he was trying so hard to be this like Satanist rock rebel serial killer weirdo. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the main character girl either. She gave me Hunter Schafer and Cuckoo, but like, if Hunter Schafer did basically nothing, had no presence or energy, like, yeah, this character does shit in Longlegs, but like, she's such a passive vehicle and things just happen around her. And like, at the end of the movie, like, she could have done so much more to change the way things go down. And I really, no, this one did not. No. And the fucking twist and the way the evil, was manifesting in the world was through fucking dolls. Like, it was just stupid, and it roped in a mom. Like, oh my god, my weird mom is secretly the evil one. And she walks around wearing a nun looking thing and with a shotgun. Like, it got so goofy. It got so stupid, and I hated it. I don't like Longlegs. In a Violent Nature was extremely boring, and I didn't like the way they did the quote-unquote from the killer's POV thing. I don't think they had the creativity to make something like that entertaining or interesting. I did not like the actors that they cast for the movie. I'm not an actress. I'm not talented in that, but I am an observer, and the acting was rough. The dialogue, the delivery was rough. And I don't know. I just think that you could have done it to where, even though we only ever, quote unquote, get to know these characters when the killer is within proximity and he hears what we hear, which is like bits and pieces of discussions and, you know, conversations starting in the middle of something. And, you know, we don't have too much context for much. I think that could have been done in a way that we still, you know, felt a sort of thrill for the victim, on behalf of the victim, but also a thrill for, you know, getting to get the angle, the perspective of being on the other side of it all, you know? They didn't capture or get that in this movie at all. It was so bland and plain and just straight up watch as this guy rises from the ground, stalks about in the woods 90% of the movie. Every once in a while will come across someone, kill them, maybe off screen, maybe you'll see the kill, like with the drowning one, you just see her fucking she just goes underwater and she's dead. Or, you know, you'll get one good memorable kill, or you'll get for what the little pieces of what we got, that one good kill or whatever other brutal kills that there were, you get that, but in a package I will never ever rewatch or want to watch ever again, because it was just, to me, a waste of time. They could have done so much more with the POV thing. So much more. Like, keep the camera behind the guy, the killer, and have him go ape shit on people, right? And only show us what you can realistically show us from being behind him, and make that a spectacle. You know, like fucking Jason going through the fucking rave in the cornfield in that one movie, or a killer in a crowded place, or a killer in a setting that you don't, you know, it's not typical. The Chainsaw Massacre movie with the killing on the bus. That was messy, that was crazy, that was all over the place. We never get to see, you know, something like that. You could have done something similar with this one, where it's like we're getting to see it from a different angle and it looks a little different from this side. It's still someone being brutally massacred, but like you get different details, you get different angles. Like, it's just, I didn't like it. This movie didn't even stick to that. It would cut between, you know, being behind him to like other shots being just normal, being shot like an ordinary movie. It was just such a disjointed experience, fully. And even at the end, there's a sort of break from format, and we're following a different person, and there's a monologue going on, and I liked it because it tied up the killer predator nature aspect of the movie in a, you know, nice artsy way. And it did actually amp up the suspense there at the end, because it broke from format. So you're kind of like, oh my God, what's about to happen? Like, you know, you get that sense of fear again. But man, it wasn't worth it. It was not worth it at all to me. And I'm typically someone that tries to like pretty it up, dress it up, see the value, see the merit. And there is some here. I just don't ever want to sit through this movie ever again. Ever. So yeah. All right, Furiosa was a movie that seemingly came and went quite quickly, in my opinion. I don't think that people were really interested in a prequel in the Mad Max universe, really, nor, you know, expanding a little bit further, do I think that they were necessarily clamoring for a prequel centered around Furiosa's story. The big appeal of Furiosa's character really came across in Fury Road, of course, and was done brilliantly by Charlize. And I think that they went, okay, we've got a really strong popular character, let's cast a great up and coming actress and build, you know, this world around it with good action. And it just felt derivative of Fury Road, while yes, giving us a little bit more expansion and a little more color into that world, especially for us audiences that didn't grow up or haven't even seen the older movies. So yeah, I think Fury Road left such an impression, and then the hype around that movie persists, but it didn't really get carried on. That torch of hype didn't really get carried onward by Furiosa. I think Furiosa could have been a way better, like a spin-off series, kind of like a House of the Dragon treatment, and then the cinematic treatment could be saved for a continuation from Fury Road, because I felt a certain type of way about sitting through Furiosa, and then the movie ending with showing me clips from Fury Road, like it tied it in perfectly, so neatly into that movie, which of course, but I don't know, that I'm just commenting on the fact that it really did seem to attract very niche interest. Furiosa did, and then it just kind of, now, reception aside, the movie itself, how was my movie going experience watching it? Did I enjoy my time spent watching it? For the most part, I would say, yeah, it provided good, intense action. It had good performances. I don't know that I was completely sold on Anya as Furiosa, especially once Anya really started trying to like capture the Charlize-ness of it. It just didn't really feel good to me. It didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel correct. It felt put on. This movie, not a bad movie, and maybe in 10 years we'll look back on it and be like, wow, what a fun movie, you know? But within the current context, it's landing as part of a kind of not forgettable, but kind of forgettable like bunch of movies that are coming out recently. So yeah. Okay, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That first trilogy, we've all heard on and on about it, about how good it is, and it was really good. I haven't gone back and watched those movies, but I remember loving them when I did watch them. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes didn't really attract my attention from the previews when it was being marketed. It looked boring. It felt blah, you know? And I was wondering, what the fuck else is there to do in this world? It felt like bait, you know? It felt like, oh, here they go again. They had a trilogy, and this is something else coming along that wants my money, that is probably going to be exactly like that first trilogy, trying to capture that, and will probably not actually end up doing much or being much as far as keeping the hype going, which was something that I couldn't say too much about Furiosa. So yeah, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, long movie, but when I watched that first experience in IMAX was actually way more enjoyable than I expected going into it. I remember being awestruck by the setting, the way it was shot, the way this post-human world was elaborated and put on screen was gorgeous. The way that, you know, nature had taken over the world, and it looked genuinely post-apocalyptic. Not like it looked like it was trying to be Hollywood post-apocalyptic. It just looked like shit had happened. Nature was slowly taking course, and it looked quite organic, and I liked that. It was pretty. The effects, the sound design, the plot, the narrative, the characters, it all worked for me. It felt like just a family play, like a tragic hero's journey of trying to win over the bad and avenge the bad for, you know, the good that it took, the good that it yanked, the good that it's robbed. And I liked that badness is kind of roped and wrapped a little bit into and inspired by a twisting of the philosophy of Caesar. And I like that in this post-apocalyptic and post-Caesar world, we also have followers of him that are more pure and then followers that are bad. And I just, you know, it seemed like a logical continuation and living in this world, and I appreciated that. Of course, the movie does drag a bit, but I think it's punctuated with moments of genuine suspense, genuinely good action, of a deliciously hateable villain, but also you love to hate him and hate to love him. Plus the terrifying gorilla that like was the strong arm of Proximus Caesar, and he was terrifying. The gorilla was terrifying to behold. Just this behemoth of a beast, and you could feel, you know, that fear of like, wow, I'm up against wild, violent creatures. I'm up against savagery, and I'm trying to maintain the peace. You want to hold on to the peace as much as you can, and you want to do good and be good, and also not be a pushover, and you want to fight. And I love that this movie spoke to it all. I will say though, I fell asleep when I tried to watch it a second time. So That's probably, and I probably won't go back and rewatch it, even though because they're going to continue the events from this movie on to 2 other movies, I'm pretty sure. And I did like the little Chekhov's guns that they introduced into this movie, and I'm interested in seeing where they go from here. But yeah, I think maybe that's why I just didn't go back and rewatch the first trilogy, is because, or even any of the other movies, I just feel like I get it. It's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's a commentary on technology, human greed, on the food chain and dynamics, and can man get over its arrogance? Can animal become equal to man? I get it, and maybe I got what I needed from that first trilogy, is what I'm trying to say, and I got what I needed out of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm never going to go back and really rewatch it with that same excitement or verve that I had that first watch, but that first watch did make me very pleased, and I had a good time at the movies with it, even if I fell asleep for the second watch. Maybe not all movies are meant to be watched more than once, So that's where I'm at with this one. Abigail was a movie that I think benefited from my low expectations going into it. I found that it was funner than I thought it would be. I found that for a vampire flick, which, it's like vampire flicks don't attract me at all. It's like a supernatural horror movie. It's like been there, done that. It's old. It's tired. Please stop. But with this one, they had some actual style with like the setting and the music and the way that the character was a character. The little girl was a whole fucking character, and the way she hunted, the way she talked, the way that she was evil was delicious, and I really enjoyed that. And the extended cast was also really, really good, and everyone was entertaining. There was dark humor, there was a little bit of violence and blood, and there was a twist here and there. And yeah, I definitely can tell that these directors are still chasing that Ready or Not, lightning in a bottle energy that they captured with that one. But I don't think that they've quite gotten there with this movie or the movies they've released since. But again, with this one, even though with overrated directors, I'm going to say decently entertaining movie that I think would lend itself to a fun movie night if you did pop it on. So that's something to say for it. And that's more than I can say for some of the other movies on this list. Okay, Cuckoo was, I fear, a movie that I will forget about with time, except for the fact that I really enjoy Hunter Schafer as an actress, and that the setting was gorgeous, and the villain was yummy to listen to, yummy to watch. But as far as plot, and it's not like it went too balls to the wall insane as far as like what the idea and the twist and the story eventually was revealed to be. But what it was teetering the line of being absurdly stupid and teetering the line of like artsy horror reality, like like reality in a horror movie type, like raw, visceral. And I really liked the way they did there's a mechanic in the movie, I guess you could call, where there's a cue, an audio cue that will loop and disorient and literally like freeze a victim within a time loop of sort. I just loved that like the idea of a predator able to do that to a prey, to a victim, in order to disorient and stun it in place, and in order to then strike. I loved that angle of it. I loved the angle, unexpected actually, because I don't think they did this well in the movie, the whole sisterhood angle. And like some of like, they showed how much Hunter Schafer's character didn't click with the little sister. They showed that she didn't really like her. They showed her talking shit about her little sister, and then they slowly show us like her softening up to her, especially after there's a certain scene that like humanizes the little sister character a lot more. But like, I didn't feel it was given the adequate attention or time to like really be effective, that angle of like sisterhood and coming together to defeat the evil. And like, I don't know, felt tacked on, but when it did take center stage and was focused upon, there's this great scene towards the end with the two sisters and they're trying to come together, and I loved the dialogue in that scene. I loved, the way they roped in certain events from before and like the way they talk about it in this scene. It did make me almost emotional, which I wasn't expecting. I also did like that there's a standoff of sorts between characters at the very end, and I loved the way they did that. That was a very good scene. But other than that, it just felt like shit was happening, and it was hard to understand, not gonna lie, through the accents that the characters have in the movie at times. It's like to me, it's like on par with like a movie like Smile. It's a movie with like nuggets of value in it to me, because I know other people love Smile and I know other people love Cuckoo. But for me, they're movies that fall somewhere in the middle of like being a straight to DVD rental bin kind of thing and a Hollywood movie that could be almost entertainingly bad, but it's not quite there either. I don't know. Yeah, go watch it for the or don't go watch. I don't fucking know. I don't think I'm gonna watch it again, to be honest with y'all. So yeah. So the quiet verse per se in my head has definitely lost some steam and interest among people. All I know is that even though I did enjoy my first time watches of all three of these movies, I've not once given them much thought or desire to rewatch them since. The novelty of The Quiet Thing does lend itself to clever or intensely suspenseful moments, done best in the first movie, I think. But yeah, outside of that, I'd take something like Cloverfield over any of these. It's not like they're bad, they're just all right. Day One was a neat side story in the world, but it didn't really deliver the way that I wanted. I expected us to get, I've seen other reviewers say this, more Day One type stuff, seeing the world figure out these creatures and figure out their weaknesses and seeing people in different settings and of all kinds of walks of life. And it just, I don't know, it didn't feel felt small for taking place in a huge city crowded with people concerning an alien invasion. They still, they center these movies on, in this case, it's like one person plus that person's little side buddy that tags along. But I don't know, it's passing time. It's a popcorn flick, but it's nothing I'm gonna be raving about ever again. It's not gonna make any end of the year list. I don't know. Yeah, it's just, no. Inside Out 2 was actually a good movie. I went into it just hoping that they would do the first one proud, and they did. They met my high expectations, and it, I think, properly expanded on Riley's inner and outer world, and I thought it neatly and entertainingly, introduced and broke down sort of the components of identity and personality in a way that makes it understandable for kids and adults. I can't think of much I didn't like in this one at all. I guess I didn't feel the feels or the comedy hit quite as hard in this one as I wanted it to, but it did do the trick as far as moving me, entertaining me, enlightening me, and it left me, with the desire to study and reflect more on myself and what goes into who I've become today, and what beliefs do I carry, and what emotions and feelings are dominant within me. And I just love that the Inside Out movies can both be creative and clever in how they present these and do it well. And it's so nice to see Pixar back in that wheelhouse, and they're blessed to have such a good concept for these stories, for the Inside Out stories, because they've got a trilogy right there, like a beautiful, neat, complete, makes sense. No one will come at you and say it's a cash grab formula for how to do it to where you bring in a third movie and it's just the natural evolvement of Riley, you know? And you can move adults the way you moved adults with Toy Story 3 as well. And I think they know that they've got a little something special there. And I think they know that they did it well with the sequel. And I think they know that they did the first one proud. So I think they know that with the third one, they can't just give us the fucking Incredibles 3, Incredibles 2. You know, you can't do that. You can't give me Finding Dory. Don't give me Finding Dory. Give me a good fucking movie. So, yeah. So I Saw the TV Glow is one of those movies that I did not like when I walked out of it. It just did not click for me. It hit me, like it impacted me in ways I didn't appreciate. It made me feel perceived in an uncomfortable way. It made me feel restless. It made me feel sad, melancholic, nihilistic. It made me feel frustrated. It made me feel confused. It was just a very visceral movie as far as tapping into soul death of the self, death of the soul. And in this particular movie, very much centered on you have taken yourself out of yourself and you have placed your essence, your coreness, and experiential verve into an entity outside of yourself, and you are no longer you are just an observer casting your attention and everythingness into a show or movie that you enjoy, and it consumes you and you are nothing outside of it, and everything outside of it passes you by, no matter how mundane or how important it is. And you grow up chasing the high, chasing the dragon that was sort of young, innocent discovery, first time aha moments, you know, you're chasing that for the rest of your life and never engaging or continuing to change and evolve in the present, going onwards, thinking about where you want to be in the future. It just felt very, you wanted to get in the screen and shake the main character by the shoulders and just tell them that, get it together, you have potential, you can do and be more than this, it doesn't have to be this way. But I didn't like the movie because it was just very, it was a weird movie, but I almost can't critique it because it was so much itself. The package was so original, I guess, the way it did it, that which it did. And while I think it could have been done better, it did still do it, and it stuck with me the way that it did do it. So I don't want to shit on the movie if maybe I'm really just expressing disturbed admiration for it, like a sort of twisted respect for what it did, how it did it, and what it did to me, how it stuck with me afterwards. Like It Follows, I couldn't stop thinking about that movie, about its ambiance, about its music, about its certain little moments of horror in it, or the visual imagery that would be presented on the screen. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and that movie did stick with me over time. And when I eventually did go back and rewatch it, I gained new appreciation for all of those aspects of it that I initially didn't like. I initially didn't like the vibe. I initially didn't like the setting. I thought it was depressing. I didn't like the characters. I thought they were depressing and boring, and you know, and it felt too real almost. It didn't feel like an escapist experience. It felt like it was putting me in a seat, in a position that I did not want to be in, that I wanted to get out of, and I wanted to feel better again. I wanted to escape. Yes, I wanted to escape from It Follows, and I wanted to escape from I Saw the TV Glow. It made me melancholic, sad, and depressed. And I saw a lot of myself and people that I grew up around and with, you know, in it. I saw those moments of like, you desire connection, but you don't know how to do it. You desire to be smart. You desire to be a part of something. You desire expression, and for whatever reasons, the world around you, for yourself as well, your lack of belief, and just this loss of soul, this loss of life that happens while living. I felt that continuously be robbed, and even when it was there, it felt fleeting, and it felt like an empty joy. And it, when you're a kid and you're glued to the TV and you're taking in this candy, this eye candy and this audio candy, and you're like, wow, this is amazing, this is the best it could ever be, and I never want to grow up, and I just want to live in this candy world. It really does bring that across, that is fleeting, even when you don't see it or know it as it's happening. The sands of time are continuously running, and you will run out of time eventually. And this movie deals with that. It tells us in the movie, you still have time. There is still time to save yourself. You're not dead yet, right? And the movie does come down to, don't let yourself die before you're dead. And don't apologize for you. Don't apologize for your mortality. Don't apologize for existing. Don't apologize for trying. Don't apologize for being you as much as you possibly can. And considering that this is the movie I've gone on the longest about, and I actually haven't shat on it, I'm leaning towards saying that this is one of those movies that over time is gonna become one of my liked ones. But for when I watched it at the time, in the context of the world that we live in, it just felt so real, and it did effectively disturb me, even though it wasn't a horror movie and it wasn't what I thought it would be at all, period. So yeah, hard to describe this one, hard to talk about, but I have a sort of weird respect for it, even if it's not a movie that I would want to enjoy, or a movie that I would want to sit through again willingly. So yeah,